Alright guys, in today's video we're going to be covering which is the best SMG to use right now in Warzone. We're going to be covering their recoil, mobility, damage per mag, range, overall TTK, and their practical TTK, which is the actual TTK you're probably going to be getting in-game based on headshots, chest shots, stomach shots, and limb shots, based on the practicality of where you're shooting them to what will actually happen in-game to determine which is actually the fastest killing gun. So we have the Blixen Mark 05, MP40 well gun, the Sten, and the Mac 10. If you guys do enjoy any part of the video, you guys are new and part of the 80% that watch my videos do not subscribe, hit the subscribe button down below and let's jump right into it. So on the screen, the first thing I wanted to quickly cover was the overall mobility of all these guns, because they're all top tier and a couple of them only have very minor weaknesses. The one gun that absolutely stands out as the best mobility SMG, Mac 10. In green for all future reference will be things that are good, yellow is things that are average, red is things that are bad. So the Mac 10 has the fastest sprint to fire, the fastest stray speed, a good movement, a good sprint, the fastest reload speed, and an average ADS. The Blixen has a very fast ADS, the fastest movement, sprint speed, second fastest stray speed, and second fastest sprint to fire. It just doesn't reload as fast. MP40 is good across the board, just has a slow stray speed. So those are the top three guns for mobility. The only negative you'll see here is with that Sten. It's got a good reload, good mobility, the fastest sprint speed, but your stray speed and sprint to fire are actually the slowest. And with the Mark 05, the stray speed is not the fastest, which if you're using this in the close range, not the best. But mobility wise, it's very simple. All the guns are excellent. The next thing I want to take a look at is going to be the recoil. This is probably what was the most requested thing. If you guys want to see stuff you think I'm missing, comment that down below like this guy did, and I will include it in the next video. Recoil, absolute standout. Right there in the middle we have the Blixen. All these guns, this is with the same 36 bullets due to keep the recoil where you can see where the actual difference is. So all guns shot with 36 bullets. The Blixen had the least amount of recoil. MP40 is very straight, very easy. The Mark 05, once again, very straight, very easy, but has, I think it's the Owen gun that does it, where at the top it just stops kicking and pulls to the right, which is whatever. So Blixen clearly king. Mark 05 definitely a top tier. MP40 a top tier because there's no variance. Then we have the well gun, which pulls to the left like the Ram. Not as popular, but very easy to control. And the few times I used it in game, I can feel it pulling left, but it's easy to control in my opinion. The Mac 10 is purely vertical, but in the first 15 to 20 bullets, it has a lot of variance left to right, back and forth. After that, it maintains, so it's okay. And the Sten had a lot of initial recoil, and then a big variance in the middle, and then it pulls up to the left, which is once again not as common. So standouts, once again, we have the MP40 and the Blixen, which are now top tier again. Mark 05, definitely top tier. So the next thing I wanted to quickly cover is going to be your damage per mag. But the Sten at 36 rounds, your damage per mag is going to be 1,000, which with 300 health, this in my opinion is very important, more than ever. Probably the top thing to look for in a gun. So just shooting straight to it. The Blixen and Mark 05, the reason these are the two most popular weapons, 2,400 and 2,500. So this gun will take down 8 players. This gun will take down more than 8 players. And in the max range, you're going to get 6 and 7 downs. So you can take down more than a whole team with each gun. And with the MP5, the only other gun, and the modern MP5, the MP40, excuse me, the only other guns that could take down a full team. The well gun, if you miss one bullet, get 1 damage point off. You're not going to. The Sten, you're not going to. The Mac 10, you're not going to. The Type 100, you probably won't hit your shots, so you're not going to. So those are kind of huge things that negative these weapons, in my opinion. You can see you're doing more than double the same damage with the same amount of bullets with the Mac 10 versus the Blixen. This, once again, is stressing why I think the Blixen is top tier and the Mark 05 is a close second. So what we have on the screen now, when we sort, we will see our range, which all these guns is either 10, 10, 11, 12, or 11. So they're all about equal. The one standout here is that Mac 10 up to 19 meters. And the standout with MP40 and the well gun both only have 1 damage profile, or technically 2. Excuse me. So The one negative in the range category we're going to see is the Blixen and Marco 5. At 10 and 15 meters, 10 and 17 is actually probably two of the worst ranged weapons we've seen in Warzone. I think the Marco 5 has the lowest range besides the Vanguard PPSH in history. And the Sten at 12 and 20 is average. So, in TTK wise, Blixen, Marco 5, MP40, Sten are top tier with a decent range. In your mid-range, the Sten is once again pretty good. The Marco 5 once again pretty good. The Blixen pretty good. The one negative is that MP40 drops pretty hard, only having 2 damage ranges, but this is like anywhere from 10 to 15 meters. The MP40 is now your slowest killing weapon, which is kind of why it's taken a fall out of the meta. And then we have their long range TTK, which is like above 20 meters. You can see the Marco 5 lacks, the Blixen lacks, and that Mac 10, the well gun, and the Sten are pretty good. So this is kind of taking a look at where these guns are ranking as far as overall TTK. But the one big thing I wanted to cover is practicality. Chest shots, stomach shots, head shots. What is going to improve the guns, and which of these TTKs is actually going to be affected by the practical TTK, which is probably the most important thing. So now what you can see on the screen, we have the gun with their base damage. So we have head, this is chest, stomach, and limbs. If it has 4, its chest and stomach are different, but pretty much majority of these guns have a chest and stomach multiplier and then a limb multiplier. So limbs would be your shoulders, it's your arms, and your knees down. So the limb multiplier is the same everywhere, the chest and stomach is the same everywhere. So as far as practicality, the majority of your shots, probably 50% are going to be the chest and the stomach. So the chest shots needed. With 0, you could get literally 11 toe shots and still maintain your TTK with the Sten. With 1 headshot, your TTK is going to improve. With that well gun, you need 10 out of 10 to the stomach or chest, which is 30 out of 300, which is perfectly 300. So if you get 1 headshot, it's definitely going to help. But if you get 1 toe shot and no headshots, your TTK is going to drop and your actual TTK is going to be slower. Same thing with that Mac 10. With a very fast fire rate, not as easy a recoil, you're most likely going to get a lower TTK, and the headshot multiplier is honestly not that good. So your TTK is probably going to be slower based on practicality. With the MP40, the absolute negative of it is you can see your headshots 36, your chest shots 35. There's never a chance with getting headshots your TTK will lower, which is a huge negative. So your TTK overall is probably going to be the same in your base range for these 3 weapons. So next we have your second damage profile. The Blixen, MP40, Sten, either 0 or 1 chest shot will maintain your TTK. You could literally never shoot them in the chest, which is incredible. The only 2 guns changing here, we have the Blixen with a 60 to the head, a 37 to the chest. You guys can see 1 headshot will lower your TTK, which is the only gun in the mid-range that makes the TTK faster. Every other gun is equal besides the Mac 10. With the 20 damage, you need 15 out of 15 perfect shots to the chest or stomach. If you get 1 shoulder on the left side, 1 shoulder on the right side, your TTK is going to lower. So that Mac 10 has gotten a lower TTK in the close range and the long range, which is definitely lowering the gun in the rank. And once again, MP40, factoring back in those headshots, you need 7 out of 11 or 8 out of 11 to lower your TTK, which is never going to happen. So the MP40 and the Mac 10 are definitely lowering in overall practicality. Then we have here on the end, the Marco 5, you need actually 0 chest shots. But the Blixen is actually going to go down in this category. So you need 10 out of 10 perfect chest shots. It does have a godly headshot multiplier, but if you get 1 shoulder shot, TTK is going to go down. So practicality of the Blixen above, was it 17 meters, is going to be slower. The Sten is going to be equal. The one stand out here is 0 out of 12 to the chest. So if you get like 10 to the chest, 1 to the head, your TTK is going to be faster. So the Marco 5 is faster in the long range. Blixen's slower in the long range. In the mid range, the Blixen's faster. The Mac 10 slower. And in the close range, the Sten is faster. The Mac 10 and the well gun are slower. So now we have the real time to kills, which you guys will see. So the Sten has improved here. The Blixen has improved here, and your Mag 10 across the board has lowered, and your well gun has lowered. And then in the long range, you get an improvement here in the Marco 5 and a lowering in the Blixen. So now where you can see TTK wise where these guns rank, the Mag 10 is incredible. Recoil is good. Mobility is probably the best, but you'll never be able to kill anybody. This is still one of my most favorite weapons. I loved it in the history of Warzone, the top SMG. The gun's a pea shooter. The practicality is the lowest of every gun I've seen so far. Definitely needs to get dropped if you're still trying to use it. The well gun is on the fringe of meta. It's viable, but your TTK in the base range is going to lower to be 100 milliseconds slower than every gun. Definitely is going to be falling off the meta in my opinion. The Sten is that one gun on the door knocking to get in. You have the fastest TTK up close with one headshot. You've got a 12 meters of range, which is pretty good. Your TTK in the mid-range from 12 to 20 is top tier, top 3 out of all these guns. And at your max range is going to be top 2 again. So from 12 meters beyond, this gun's one of the fastest killing guns if you can hit your shots. And up to 12 meters is the fastest killing. So that's what makes it top tier in my opinion. Marco 5 does have low range, which is the only negative about it, but your TTK up close is the fastest, range is average. Mid-range TTK is the fastest, so from 10 to 15 meters, the MP40 is going to be dropping off. Your Blixen drops off. This is the fastest killing gun. And then your max range about 15 meters, it still has a pretty good TTK, which is equal to about that MP40, which was meta for how long. So if you notice the MP40 was your meta weapon for the last 2 to 3 months, that Marco 5 is going to fill in that spot, and it's going to kill faster, and in my opinion have a little bit better recoil. Then we have the Blixen, my favorite gun. Absolute negative is anywhere beyond 17 meters. This gun literally shoots marshmallows or shooting air, but anywhere from 17 meters up to 10 meters, this is one of the fastest killing guns, if not the fastest, and with the absolute lowest recoil, which in my opinion, this is kind of where we're going to be ranking the guns, is where they rank across the board and see which one is the highest ranked weapon across all the categories we just covered. So on the screen, we have the point variant system, which I developed myself. Mobility, recoil, base TTK, and second TTK are maintaining full points from 1 to 6. So we have them ranked 1 to 6 versus each other, and it's going to give them their points. The range is not as important. We got 50% of the points. So if you are number 6, which is the best, you only get 3 points. And then in the damage per mag, same thing. If you're the best, you get half the points. And then the fire rate, you get a quarter of the points. So when you go through and you see where they rank 1 through 6, these are my final rankings. We have the Blixen with top tier mobility, the best recoil, the second worst range. But in your TTKs, it's going to be either the fastest or the second fastest killing gun. And then your damage per mag is incredible. Your fire rate is the slowest. So overall wise, it does everything and everything well besides range. Damage per mag, top tier. Recoil is the best. Mobility is the best. Your TTKs are the best. Your fire rate is the slowest, which makes your recoil the best. And your range is average. So you can build this gun to be top tier meta and basically have no weaknesses, which in my opinion why it's the best overall SMG. But that Marco 5 is the worst in mobility. Recoil is good. The range is worse than the Blixen. It just is a little bit worse in the categories, which is why you can see it's not collecting as many points. MP40 is still top 3. Does everything and everything well. The Mac 10 with that mobility is the only thing that makes it viable at all, and it has a godly fire rate, which is helping. Your damage per mag is hot ass. Your range is top tier, and then your fire rate is top tier. So mobility, fire rate, range is top tier, which is the only thing keeping it in the loop. And the reason the Sten is not competing as much is your damage per mag is horrible. Your range is average. Your recoil is not the best. So the two things that are making these guns better, the recoil and the damage per mag, which is why they're top tier, is what making the Sten average in my opinion. The well gun is pretty average as well. So Blixen, Marco 5, MP40, easy top 3. Which one's best for you is going to determine whether you're more aggressive, whether you want that sprint to fire, that ADS time, which is going to be like the Marco 5, Or if you want the best recoil, you're more of a mid-range player, you like the Milano, you like the MAC-10, you like the LC-10, the Blixen is the go-to for you. In my opinion, just basing it on all of the factors of what makes something good, I have the Blixen easily first place. It just does everything and everything well besides range and fire rate. But making up for the fire rate, it's one of the fastest killing guns. The headshot effectiveness is there. The practicality is there, which in my opinion is what makes the Mark 5 and the Blixen easily the top two SMGs and competing against themselves only, is because the practicality of your damage, your effectiveness, your headshots is all there. So it's going to be one of the only guns that are lowering your TDKs, which the MP40 can't. The MAC-10 is slower, and the well gun is also slower. So they're easily the top two guns. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below about these kind of super in-depth videos. The next one we're covering is the best long-range meta. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you.